Hi, welcome to How to Repair. Today we're looking at Whirlpool-made Hotpoint Indesit tumble dryers, and this is an updated video on the heating systems and how to maintain the tumble dryer and how to test the thermostats and cutout stats around the machine. On this vented tumble dryer we are going to be looking at 6 thermostats or cutout thermostats. On condenser dryers there may be NTC sensors fitted. These are what measures the temperature to the circuit board on the machine. Now the first thing I'm going to do is tell you about what you need to do to prevent any problems occurring on your tumble dryer. It is very important that if you select the timer to 60 minutes, for example, you let the machine finish its whole cycle before opening the door. This is due to the last 10 minutes of the cycle being a cooling down period. The machine needs to cool down because when you open the door in the middle of a cycle, the residual heat in the dryer can rise, and if this exceeds the cutout thermostat's capability, they will blow. They are designed for your safety. Whirlpool has put a lot of effort since they've taken over the company to make sure their tumble dryers are safe, and I can't emphasize this enough. Other faults that can occur: people do not maintain the machine properly. I know you just like to do your laundry, chuck it in the machine and forget about it. But once a month you need to clean the ducting system. And also on condenser dryers you need to clean the absorption plate. Air flows through this absorption plate in 2 directions. One through this direction and one through the side. The warm air that goes through here is then condensed on the plate and goes to the pump system, where it goes to a collection chamber. Sorry, word twisting again. On vented tumble dryers, the air comes into the machine through the filter that needs to be cleaned every load, exactly the same as the condenser dryer, but once a month you need to put a vacuum cleaner down this hole at the front. Also make sure that the vent tube is clear as well. If there is restriction in airflow on tumble dryers, this can cause the thermostatic system to fail. Also, if you overload the machine, you are restricting the airflow going through the machine, and this can also cause thermostatic problems. So I can't emphasize that enough. Now in this video, we'll look at where all the safety stats are, how to test the safety stats, also how to check the heating element and how to replace any components. And I will show you how to gain access the easiest way to all these components. They will vary from machine to machine. So this is a guide, and this is on the vented tumble dryer, but it will be very similar on all the condenser tumble dryers and vented tumble dryers made by Hotpoint Indesit, which is part of the Whirlpool group. And I've also got a workshop's diagram that I've stolen because the manufacturer never gives these out, but I've managed to obtain one that will assist you. It's not the best picture quality, and I also have some other diagrams which are good quality to show you where the components are. So the first thing we need to do is bring the machine down off the workbench to take the lid off, and we need to remove the right hand side panel to really gain access to these thermostats. On vented tumble dryers, it is possible just to take the lid off and the facial panel to test the top stat, and you can also remove the vent tube to actually gain access to the 2 forward thermostats here, but the whole back panel needs to come off anyway to test the heater, but I'll show you all that now. Okay, first thing we need to do is take the lid off. The only tools you're really going to need is a Phillips screwdriver, a pair of pin nose pliers, and it would be, you will need a multimeter. Once you've undone the 2 screws, give the lid a tap coming backwards because it catches on this plastic. Once that's done, this comes away. This side panel needs to come off the machine. and I'm going to put it back in on top of the workbench in a moment, but on the vented dryer we need to remove this plate at the top to be able to release the side plate. So there's four screws. Make sure you keep these screws in order because they are different sizes. The two in the middle here are small and the two on the outside are larger. I've done this thousands of times, so it's easy for me, but it's not always easy for you. Right, when you remove this, there's two catches on either side. Make sure you put it back correctly. Next, we need to remove the plinth, and there are three little gaps at the bottom that you need to press down with a small screwdriver, then the panel will come away. The reason we take this off, there is a screw here and a screw underneath that we need to release. Undoing the bottom screw, these are larger screws, not the smaller type, and the one at the front here. And you will also see three catches at the bottom for the panel. When reassembling, make sure that these go in the correct grooves. They have done a lot of effort in reinforcing the cabinet over the last few years, and you can see this on the review video that I did previously. There is one hidden screw in the inside, which you can see me undoing here, and this is slightly different to all the other screws, so make sure you get it correct and don't lose this screw because it is slightly shorter but a fatter thread. Now, as I was saying, if you just wanted to test the two forward thermostats at the front, it is possible to test them by taking this vent tube off, but for filming purposes I'm going to remove the side panel, and it's easier to do this anyway. Right, there's a small plate at the bottom, which is one of the reinforcing plates I was on about. Undo that, and these are the smaller screws. Now we have three screws going up. Once all these screws are done, you need to slide the panel back, and there are location lugs that line up on the front panel. Take that backwards, and then the panel will come away. To gain access to the heater, there are a couple of clips that you need to undo, and this is where you'll need the pin nose pliers. Just press the clips, slide them back, and underneath here you have another clip. Also be careful of the capacitor. Make sure the appliance is always disconnected, and you can short with insulated screwdriver or a pair of insulated pliers across the capacitor to make sure it's discharged, just in case you touch it with your hand. And I'm just going to undo this, and there's also one that you need to do at the front. Then the panel will come away. This is there to protect the motor and the capacitor from any damp and dust building up inside the motor, because this is what stops the bearings getting damaged by dust buildup and also the motor not being able to cool. Okay, once that's done, you are able to open up the plug for the heating element. I'm going to take the whole heating element off the appliance, but I have made some notes for you. Now, from what I can work out, doing some tests, the orange wire is basically the neutral side of the heating element. The heating element has two sides, a high and low heat. We also have a cycling thermostat which is in line going to the heater, which I imagine will be on the side. And then we've got, from what I can gather, two cutout or one-shot thermostats for safety on the top of the heater. Now we've got four wires going to the plug. We've got orange, black, brown and blue. Now, according to what I've just worked out, is if I use my multimeter here for you, you should be able to test the element in situ. And let me just put my notes there for you. Orange is the neutral, which I said, and let me see if I can get that better to the camera for you. Yeah, I think that's all right. So orange is our neutral, which goes to our cycling thermostat, and then we have three fields. If we go to the orange blue, we're getting a reading of 46.9. Now 46.9 ohms relates to 1200 watts of resistance, which would be one side of the tumble dryer heater, which would be 1 bar at the top. Now I don't know which wire is going where on the heater because I haven't taken it off yet, but if we go to orange black, which is the top one, we've also got 46.9. And orange, orange blue, orange black, and I think orange brown should have the same reading, and it has. So from there I'm able to tell that both of the fields to the heating circuit are working, and this means that if current is flowing through the cycling stats or the cutout stats, it is good. Of course, it will be good because this is a brand new tumble dryer which I'm making the video on. So we'll take the heating element off now and we'll have a look at the wiring on the heating element so I can explain all the bits and pieces there. Okay, to remove the heating element, there are two clips that we need to undo. This one actually supports the wiring harness, and I'll just pull that one out, and there is another clip behind here. So I'll quickly undo these screws, small screws all the way round. Do be careful of the protective insulation. This is a great thought by Hotpoint Indesit to keep the heat within the machine and not waste energy. Using a screwdriver not to damage the insulation with the electric one, undo the other screws. When it comes to the last screw, make sure you support the heating element. This now can come away, but you will need to undo this clip down here. Now you're able to pull the whole plug out. And here we have the heating element. Okay, it's not the thermostat I was thinking it was, so this could either be a cutout or a thermostat. It doesn't make any difference. We need a circuit on this. So I'm going to take one wire off carefully, and I'm going to use my other meter that stands up for you, and I'll put that there. Always test your multimeter is working correctly, so we have continuity, and I will just go across this thermostat and we have continuity. We know that is good. Then you would check the other thermostat, and if I pull this lead off and we go across this, we have continuity, so we know that thermostat is good. I'll explain the heating element side in a second. We also have another thermostat which is hard to see on the side here, which is a brown thermostat, and I'm going to take one wire off and I'm going to do a continuity check on that thermostat, and let me get my big hands out the way so you can see. And as you can see, we have continuity on that thermostat. So when checking these thermostats, if you have any that are open circuit, this would be your problem. Now we have 3 wires going to the heating element, and I can see a bridge on the side of the heating element on the orange wire. That says to me it's the neutral, and if I test between the orange and the brown, I've got roughly 69 ohms resistance, which tells me the lower half of the heating element is actually correct. And if I go from the orange to the blue, again, I've got bad contact. I've got roughly 69 ohms of resistance. That means that the element would be drawing about 5 amp, and each side of the element is 1200 watt. This gives the total heating capacity when on full heat of 2400 watts, which you will see when I'm testing the machine at the end of the video on my actual meters on the wall. This element is in perfect good condition. If you do need any parts for the heating element, they are sold complete with the new thermostats on. Sometimes after a machine has been in production for a while, and I haven't seen them yet, there will be a thermostat replacement kit which makes it more affordable to repair, because sometimes these heaters go, as I said earlier, because people open the doors or bad circulation of air, and they exceed the value of what they were designed and become open circuit. Next, we'll test the forward thermostats, and I won't put this on yet. I'll put it to one side and then we'll have a look at the other thermostats. Oh, by the way, if you do need to replace the heater, there are two screws which you can see that the manufacturer has made holes for here, but there are two more screws hidden underneath this bottom plate. I'm not going to rip this off because it would damage it, but behind here is two screw holes, or two screws, which will allow you to remove the heating element. Okay, going down to the front of the machine, as you can see down here, there are two thermostats. This one is called the Duct safety stat, and I imagine that this is a cutout. This one is also called an energy saving stat. I believe this, when activated, will actually advance the timer slightly, but I haven't got the workshop manual on this. It would basically try and save money on energy. So I'm taking one wire off each, and I now put my multimeter in for you. And you should be able to see that. And we will test across the two thermostats. Now this is very hard for me to do on camera, but I'm going to put one at the top. The safety stat has got continuity. That's good. And now I'll put, as a matter of fact, I can put the probe in like that there. And I can easily get this on film now. And that has also got a circuit. Oh, by the way, I will just zoom in for you here. There is a screw on either side of the thermostat, I believe, or there will be one screw. I can't quite see from here. No, there are two screws either side of the thermostat if you need to replace them. Okay, this forward thermostat is the hardest one to get at, and you really need to be careful. You can get access through here with some pin nose pliers without taking the panel off, but you would not be able to remove the thermostat. But for testing the thermostat, you will notice here that there are a few clips, one here and one on this side, and I'm going to depress these clips and the panel will drop down a bit. Now if I change the camera angle to this side, you will be able to see the thermostat. Okay, I've actually repositioned the camera. Now if you look down here, you can see just in there the thermostat, and I'll try and zoom in for you. Okay, that's maximum zoom on this, but down here is the thermostat, and we have two blue wires going to it. And what we need to do to test it is to remove one of the blue wires. On this instance, I'm not going to get my meter down the side, so I'm going to have to remove both blue wires. Using the pin nose pliers, just pop them off. I'm going to move them out of the way, and the panel moves, and I'll zoom out for testing for you. And going across the two terminals, we have continuity, so that thermostat is good as well. I'm just going to replace the wiring, and then I will show you how to gain access to that thermostat. Okay, if you need to get access to this, and I'm not going to do this to strip the whole machine down just to show you 2 screws. There are a selection of screws at the bottom. There are a selection of screws going around the inside of the door. So you need to remove the facial panel, undo these screws, undo the screws at the bottom. When you remove the facial panel, you'll find a couple of screws at the top there as well, and then the whole of the steel panel will be able to be removed. This will give you access to that thermostat if you need to replace it. Now I'm just going to quickly put the machine back together. You don't need to watch this, it's straightforward, and then we'll go into the testing on the machine with the actual gauges on my wall here. Okay, let me explain. We've got the high and low heat here, and I've got my meter up here, which is slightly out of calibration at the moment. It's saying it's drawing 0.07 amp, which is next to nothing. But this is plugged in as well with it. So we're going to turn this to 60 minutes, and I will press start. And as you can see up here, we are drawing 5.98 amp. And that's 1425. Now we did the meter reading on the element and we had a resistance of 46.9, which was meaning that half the element was 1200 watt. So the combined element on full heat should be 2400, but what we're getting is 1425. So if we take 1200 off that, we have a motor reading of somewhere in the region of 200 watts. Now I'm going to turn this to full heat, and on full heat you can see that it's pulling 11 amp and the total wattage is 2600 watts. Now if I advance this round now so the motor cuts out, we should be drawing 200 watts. And there we go. We're now drawing 200 watts, which is the motor. I'll let it cool down a second before turning it off, because I don't want to preach one thing and then do another, which is basically turning the machine off before it's had some time to cool down. The machine's a reverse-o-matic, by the way. But basically, the combined wattage of the heater is 2400 watts. And they're simplistic to use, these dryers, but what you really want to remember is what I told you at the beginning. Do not open and shut the door to check your clothes. Make sure you clean the filters. Make sure you clean the ducting pipe. If it's a condenser dryer, follow the procedures in the other videos on maintaining condenser dryers. In other words, clean all the components. Okay, as you can see in the diagram here, the whole circuit on the tumble dryer. I'm sorry the quality of the picture is not as good as it should be, but the manufacturer does not disclose the information, so therefore I couldn't get a decent copy, but this is the best that I could produce from a screenshot of a friend's computer. Okay, you've had a look at the diagram here now, and if you still got a problem, do a continuity check on the circuits on the micro switch here. Basically this will either have 2 or 3 tags, and they're straightforward on-off circuit, so they'll either be open or shut circuit. You still could have a problem with the timer. This is a common part to go, but this is why I gave this machine a 7 out of 10 rating when I did the review on the machine. Because the parts are affordable and easy to maintain, this machine is worth keeping going. I can't emphasize that enough. Just don't throw it out because the timer's gone. This machine is a good, reliable machine if maintained. I hope you will support the website by buying the parts off us. And if we really helped, remember to give the video a thumbs up. Also hit the subscribe button, and if you hit the bell notification button, this will inform you when I release a new video. Not only am I producing videos on repairs, I'm also doing reviews on new appliances. And this is an open, honest review, not like some of the sales pitches you get on the market today. I have no ties with any of the manufacturers, and most of them don't like me in the first place. So the reviews I give are open and honest. And remember, if we really assisted you, or I assisted you, then you can always click on the Buy Paul a Beer page. Thank you very much indeed for watching this video. I hope it helped you repair your tumble dryer. Thanks again for watching.